The skies above us are about to become a lot more crowded, but not with birds or planes. What if the way we move through the world changes forever, and the daily commute becomes a vertical adventure? Today, we're diving into a battle of futuristic titans, jetpacks versus flying cars. These aren't just sci-fi dreams anymore. They're real technologies racing to redefine how we live, work, and travel. But here's the question: which one will actually dominate the future? Will it be the sleek, personal freedom of jetpacks or the practicality and scale of flying cars? We'll break down the innovations, the challenges, and the potential of both. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clear sense of which technology might rule the skies and why it matters for all of us. So buckle up or strap on your jetpack, because the future of transportation is about to take off. Jetpacks have always been the stuff of dreams, iconic symbols of freedom and adventure that have captured our imaginations for generations. From James Bond soaring over a castle to comic book heroes zipping through the skies, jetpacks have been a staple of futuristic storytelling. But here's the twist: they're no longer just fiction. Over the past century, engineers and inventors have been working tirelessly to turn this sci-fi fantasy into a tangible reality. The journey began in the early 20th century with rudimentary designs like the rocket belts of the 1960s, which could only manage a few seconds of flight. These early attempts were more proof of concept than practical tools, but they laid the groundwork for what was to come. Fast forward to today, and we've got innovations like the JetPack Aviation JB-12, a cutting-edge model that can fly for up to 10 minutes and reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour. It's a massive leap forward, but it's not without its hurdles. One of the biggest challenges is fuel efficiency. Jetpacks require an enormous amount of energy to lift a person off the ground, and current battery technology limits how long they can stay airborne. Then there's the issue of safety. Flying at high speeds with minimal protection is inherently risky, and regulations are still catching up to the technology. But despite these obstacles, the progress is undeniable. Companies are pushing the boundaries, experimenting with hybrid engines and advanced materials to make jetpacks lighter, faster, and safer. So, could jetpacks become the ultimate personal mobility device? The idea isn't as far-fetched as it once seemed. Imagine bypassing traffic by soaring over it, or commuting to work in a fraction of the time. It's not just about convenience, it's about redefining how we think about movement. But before we get too carried away, let's not forget the other contender in this futuristic race: flying cars. While jetpacks offer unparalleled freedom, flying cars promise something equally compelling: scale. And that's where the story gets even more interesting. Flying cars have long been a symbol of the future, a vision of sleek, airborne vehicles whisking us above the chaos of city streets. But what was once the realm of science fiction is now inching closer to reality. Companies like Terrafugia and Alef Aeronautics are leading the charge, developing prototypes that could fundamentally change how we navigate urban spaces. Unlike jetpacks, which focus on individual freedom, flying cars aim to solve a larger problem: traffic congestion. And with cities growing more crowded by the day, the need for a solution has never been more urgent. Take the Terrafugia Transition, for example. This hybrid vehicle can transform from a car to a small aircraft in under a minute, offering the flexibility to drive on roads or take to the skies. Then there's the AirCar, a sleek prototype that recently completed a successful intercity flight, proving that the technology is more than just a pipe dream. These innovations aren't just about convenience, they're about reimagining urban mobility. Imagine a world where rush hour gridlock is a thing of the past and your daily commute involves soaring above the cityscape. It's a tantalizing prospect, but it's not without its challenges. One of the biggest hurdles is infrastructure. building the necessary networks of vertiports, essentially airports for flying cars, requires significant investment and urban planning. Cities would need to adapt to accommodate these vehicles, from creating landing pads to integrating air traffic control systems. Then there's the issue of regulation. Governments around the world are still grappling with how to safely manage low-altitude airspace, and public acceptance is another critical factor. Convincing people to trust a new mode of transportation, especially one that involves flying, won't be easy. But the potential benefits are hard to ignore. Flying cars could drastically reduce travel times, ease the strain on overburdened road networks, and even lower emissions if powered by clean energy. They represent a shift in how we think about transportation, not just as a way to get from point A to point B, but as a system that can adapt to the needs of a rapidly changing world. So, are flying cars the answer to our traffic woes? The answer isn't straightforward, but one thing is clear. They're a bold step toward a future where the skies are as busy as the streets below. And as we'll see next, this competition between jetpacks and flying cars isn't just about technology, it's about shaping the way we live. Now that we've explored the individual potential of jetpacks and flying cars, it's time to put them head to head. How do these two futuristic technologies stack up when we compare them directly? Let's break it down across four key factors: speed, range, cost, and accessibility. First up, speed. Jetpacks are undeniably fast. Some models can hit speeds of over 100 miles per hour, allowing you to zip through the air with ease. But here's the catch: that speed comes with limitations. Jetpacks are designed for short bursts of flight, making them ideal for quick trips or escaping traffic jams. Flying cars, on the other hand, are built for longer distances. While they might not match the raw speed of a jetpack, they can sustain flight for much longer, making them better suited for intercity travel. So, if you're looking for a quick thrill, a jetpack might be your go-to. But if you need to cover serious ground, a flying car could be the better option. Next, let's talk range. Jetpacks are currently limited by battery life and fuel capacity, with most models offering flight times of just 10 to 15 minutes. That's enough for a short commute or a quick escape, but not much more. Flying cars, however, are designed with endurance in mind. Many prototypes can fly for several hours, making them a more practical choice for longer journeys. Of course, this comes with trade-offs. Flying cars require more energy and infrastructure, which brings us to our next point: cost. When it comes to price, jetpacks are surprisingly accessible, at least compared to flying cars. While still a luxury item, some jetpack models are priced in the range of a high-end car, making them attainable for early adopters with disposable income. Flying cars, however, are a different story. With their complex designs and advanced technology, they're likely to come with a much heftier price tag, at least in the early stages. Add in the cost of maintaining vertiports and navigating regulatory hurdles, and flying cars could remain out of reach for the average person for years to come. Finally, there's accessibility. Jetpacks are all about personal freedom. Strap one on and you're ready to go, but that freedom comes with a steep learning curve. Operating a jetpack requires skill, training, and a willingness to take on some risk. Flying cars, by contrast, are designed to be more user-friendly. Many models aim to automate much of the flying process, making them accessible to a wider audience. But this convenience comes at the cost of flexibility. While a jetpack can take off and land almost anywhere, flying cars require designated landing zones, which could limit their practicality in densely populated areas. So, which technology comes out on top? The answer depends on what you're looking for. If you value speed, agility, and the thrill of personal flight, a jetpack might be your dream machine. But if you're after practicality, range, and the ability to travel longer distances, a flying car could be the better choice. Ultimately, both technologies have their strengths and weaknesses, and the future of transportation might not be a question of either or, but both and. As we'll see next, the real challenge lies in integrating these innovations into our daily lives. And that's where things get even more fascinating. As exciting as jetpacks and flying cars are, there's one critical factor that could make or break their future: safety. After all, what good is a futuristic mode of transportation if it's not safe to use? Both technologies come with their own unique risks, and addressing these challenges is essential if they're ever going to become mainstream. Let's start with jetpacks. Picture this: you're soaring hundreds of feet above the ground, relying entirely on a compact engine strapped to your back. It's thrilling, sure, but it's also inherently risky. Mechanical failures, sudden weather changes, or even a simple miscalculation could lead to disaster. And then there's the issue of mid-air collisions. Imagine dozens of jetpack users zipping through the same airspace without clear rules or guidance. It's a recipe for chaos. To tackle these risks, companies are investing heavily in safety features. Advanced stabilization systems, emergency parachutes, and fail-safe mechanisms are becoming standard in modern jetpack designs. Some models even include AI-assisted navigation to help users avoid obstacles and maintain stable flight. But technology alone isn't enough. Governments and aviation authorities are stepping in to establish regulations that ensure these devices are used responsibly. For example, the Federal Aviation Administration in the U.S. is already working on guidelines for personal flight devices, including altitude limits and no-fly zones. The goal: to create a framework that balances innovation with public safety. Flying cars, on the other hand, face a different set of challenges. While they might seem safer than jetpacks after all, they're enclosed vehicles with more robust designs. They introduce new complexities. For one, flying cars operate in low-altitude airspace, which is currently unregulated for this kind of traffic. Without a clear system in place, the skies could quickly become overcrowded and dangerous. Imagine hundreds of flying cars navigating the same airspace, each piloted by someone with varying levels of experience. The potential for accidents is significant, especially in densely populated urban areas. To address this, companies are developing autonomous systems that can handle much of the flying process, reducing the risk of human error. These systems use sensors, cameras, and AI to detect and avoid obstacles, maintain safe distances from other vehicles, and even land automatically in emergencies. But even with these advancements, the regulatory landscape remains a major hurdle. Governments around the world are grappling with how to integrate flying cars into existing air traffic control systems. Questions about licensing, airspace management, and liability in case of accidents still need answers. And let's not forget public perception. Convincing people to trust a new mode of transportation, especially one that involves flying, will take time and effort. So, can we create a safe and regulated airspace for everyone? The answer is yes, but it won't be easy. It will require collaboration between innovators, regulators, and the public to build a system that prioritizes safety without stifling progress. The good news is that we're already seeing steps in the right direction. From advanced safety features to evolving regulations, the groundwork is being laid for a future where personal flight is not just possible but practical and secure. And as we'll see next, the impact of these technologies goes far beyond transportation. It's about reshaping the way we live, work, and connect with the world around us. As we look to the future, one question looms larger than ever. How do jetpacks and flying cars stack up when it comes to the environment? With climate change at the forefront of global concerns, the sustainability of these technologies could be the deciding factor in which one takes off or gets grounded. Let's start with jetpacks. At first glance, they might seem like an eco-friendly option. After all, they're compact, lightweight, and designed for short bursts of flight. But the reality is more complicated. Most jetpacks today rely on fossil fuels or high-energy batteries, both of which come with significant environmental costs. Burning fuel releases greenhouse gases, while the production and disposal of batteries contribute to pollution and resource depletion. Even electric jetpacks, which are gaining traction, still face challenges. The energy required to lift a person off the ground is immense, and current battery technology limits how long they can operate before needing a recharge. That said, there's hope on the horizon. Innovations like hydrogen fuel cells are being explored as a cleaner alternative. These cells generate power by combining hydrogen and oxygen, producing only water vapor as a byproduct. While still in the experimental phase, they could revolutionize the way jetpacks are powered, making them a greener option for personal flight. But even with these advancements, the environmental impact of jetpacks will depend on how they're used. If they're adopted en masse, the cumulative energy demand could strain power grids and offset their potential benefits. So, while jetpacks have the potential to be eco-friendly, they're not quite there yet. Now let's turn to flying cars. At first glance, they might seem like the less sustainable option. After all, they're larger, heavier, and require more energy to operate. But here's where things get interesting. Many flying car prototypes are being designed with electric propulsion systems, which could drastically reduce their carbon footprint. Companies like Alef Aeronautics are already working on fully electric models that produce zero emissions during flight. And unlike jetpacks, flying cars are designed for longer distances, which could make them a viable alternative to traditional gas-guzzling vehicles. Imagine replacing a fleet of cars on the road with a smaller number of flying cars in the air. It's a scenario that could significantly reduce traffic congestion and lower overall emissions. But it's not all smooth sailing or flying in this case. The production of flying cars, especially those with advanced materials and systems, requires significant resources. And while electric models are promising, the energy needed to power them still has to come from somewhere. If that energy comes from fossil fuels, the environmental benefits could be limited. That's why the push for renewable energy sources is so critical. Solar-powered charging stations, wind energy, and other clean solutions could make flying cars a truly green option. And let's not forget the potential for hydrogen fuel cells here too. Just like with jetpacks, this technology could play a key role in making flying cars more sustainable. So, which technology is greener? The answer isn't black and white. Jetpacks have the potential to be eco-friendly, especially with advancements in hydrogen fuel cells, but their limited range and high energy demands are hurdles that need to be overcome. Flying cars, on the other hand, offer a more scalable solution, particularly if they're powered by renewable energy. But their larger size and resource-intensive production mean they're not without their own environmental challenges. Ultimately, the sustainability of both technologies will depend on how they're developed, deployed, and integrated into our energy systems. And as we'll see next, the race to dominate the skies isn't just about technology. It's about creating a future that's not only faster and more convenient, but also cleaner and more sustainable for generations to come. When it comes to futuristic transportation, there's a question that can't be ignored. Who gets to fly? Will jetpacks and flying cars be luxury toys for the elite, or can they become tools for everyone? Accessibility and affordability are key factors that will determine whether these technologies transform society or remain niche novelties. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about cost. Developing and producing jetpacks and flying cars is no small feat. the research, materials, and engineering required to make these devices safe and reliable come with a hefty price tag. For example, a high-end jetpack like the JetPack Aviation JB-12 can cost upwards of $300,000, more than most people spend on a house. Flying cars are even pricier, with prototypes like the Terrafugia Transition estimated to cost around $200,000. These prices put them firmly in the luxury category, far out of reach for the average person. But here's the thing, technology has a way of becoming more affordable over time. Think about smartphones or flat-screen TVs once exclusive to the wealthy, they're now ubiquitous. The same could happen with jetpacks and flying cars. As production scales up and technology improves, costs are likely to come down. Companies are already exploring ways to make these devices more affordable, from using cheaper materials to streamlining manufacturing processes. And let's not forget the potential for shared mobility services. Just as ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft revolutionized ground transportation, companies could offer jetpack or flying car rentals, making personal flight accessible without the need for ownership. This brings us to another important point, the potential for these technologies to bridge gaps in transportation. In rural or underserved areas where public transit options are limited or non-existent, jetpacks and flying cars could be game changers. Imagine a farmer in a remote village using a jetpack to quickly reach the nearest market, or a flying car delivering medical supplies to a hard-to-reach clinic. These technologies could provide a level of mobility that's currently impossible, opening up new opportunities for education, healthcare, and economic growth. Of course, there are challenges to overcome. Infrastructure is a major hurdle. Building the networks needed to support widespread use of jetpacks and flying cars will require significant investment. And then there's the issue of regulation. Governments will need to create frameworks that ensure these technologies are safe and accessible to all, not just those who can afford them. But the potential is undeniable. By making personal flight more affordable and accessible, we could create a future where everyone has the freedom to soar. So, will jetpacks and flying cars be for the few or the many? The answer lies in how we choose to develop and deploy these technologies. If we prioritize affordability, inclusivity, and innovation, they could become powerful tools for improving lives and connecting communities. But if we let cost and exclusivity dictate their future, they risk becoming little more than expensive toys for the privileged. The choice is ours, and it's one that could shape the future of transportation for generations to come. As we look ahead to the future of personal flight, one thing is clear: artificial intelligence and automation will be at the heart of this transformation. These technologies aren't just add-ons, they're game changers, poised to redefine how we interact with jetpacks and flying cars. From enhancing safety to simplifying navigation, AI has the potential to make personal flight not only possible but practical for everyday use. Let's dive into how this works and why it matters. First, consider safety. Flying, whether in a jetpack or a flying car, comes with inherent risks. Human error, unpredictable weather, and crowded airspace all pose challenges. That's where AI steps in. Advanced collision avoidance systems powered by machine learning can detect and respond to obstacles in real time. Imagine a jetpack equipped with sensors that map the surrounding environment, instantly calculating the safest path forward. Or a flying car that uses AI to predict and avoid potential hazards like sudden gusts of wind or other aircraft. These systems don't just react, they anticipate, making split-second decisions that could mean the difference between a smooth flight and a disaster. But AI's role doesn't stop at safety. It's also revolutionizing navigation. Traditional GPS systems are great for ground travel, but the skies are a different story. AI-powered navigation tools can process vast amounts of data from weather patterns to air traffic to plot the most efficient routes. For jetpacks, this could mean seamless transitions between urban landscapes, avoiding skyscrapers and power lines with ease. For flying cars, it could enable precise landings in tight spaces like rooftops or designated vertiports. The result, a smoother, more intuitive flying experience that feels less like piloting a vehicle and more like stepping into the future. Then there's the potential for autonomous flight. While the idea of a self-flying jetpack might sound like science fiction, it's closer than you think. Companies are already developing systems that allow users to input a destination and let the AI handle the rest. This could be a game changer for accessibility, opening up personal flight to people who might not have the time or skill to learn how to operate these devices manually. Imagine a world where your morning commute involves hopping into a flying car, pressing a button, and relaxing as the vehicle takes you to work, no pilot's license required. Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. The rise of AI in personal flight raises important ethical questions. Who's accountable if an autonomous system makes a mistake? How do we ensure these technologies are used responsibly without compromising privacy or security? And what happens if AI-driven air travel becomes so efficient that it disrupts existing industries like traditional aviation or ground transportation? These are complex issues that will require careful thought and collaboration between innovators, regulators, and the public. Despite these challenges, the potential benefits are immense. AI and automation could make personal flight safer, more accessible, and more efficient than ever before. They could transform the way we think about mobility, turning the skies into a new frontier for exploration and connection. But as we embrace these technologies, we must also consider the broader implications, not just for how we travel, but for how we live. The future of personal flight isn't just about technology. It's about shaping a world where innovation serves everyone, not just a select few. And as we'll see next, the journey to that future is already underway. Now that we've explored the technical and environmental aspects of jetpacks and flying cars, let's shift our focus to something equally exciting: their real-world applications. These technologies aren't just about getting from point A to point B. They have the potential to revolutionize entire industries, from emergency response to logistics and even tourism. So where could jetpacks and flying cars thrive? Let's take a closer look. First, consider emergency response. In life or death situations, every second counts, and jetpacks could be a game changer. Imagine a search and rescue team deploying jetpacks to reach remote or disaster-stricken areas that are otherwise inaccessible. Whether it's a hiker lost in the mountains or a flood survivor stranded on a rooftop, jetpacks could provide a fast, agile way to deliver aid. Their ability to bypass obstacles and cover rough terrain makes them ideal for these high-stakes scenarios. Companies like Gravity Industries are already testing jetpack-equipped paramedics, proving that this isn't just a futuristic fantasy, it's a tangible solution with the potential to save lives. But it's not just about speed. Jetpacks could also enhance precision in emergency situations. For example, firefighters could use them to navigate burning buildings or reach high-rise windows that traditional ladders can't access. The compact design and maneuverability of jetpacks make them uniquely suited for these kinds of challenges. And while they might not replace helicopters or drones entirely, they could complement existing tools, offering a new layer of flexibility in critical moments. Now let's talk about logistics. The global demand for faster, more efficient delivery services is skyrocketing, and flying cars could be the answer. Picture this: instead of trucks stuck in traffic, fleets of flying cars zipping through the skies to deliver packages directly to your doorstep. Companies like Amazon and UPS are already experimenting with drone delivery, but flying cars could take this concept to the next level. With their larger payload capacity and longer range, they could handle everything from groceries to medical supplies, transforming the way we think about last-mile delivery. One of the most promising applications is in healthcare logistics. Imagine a flying car transporting organs for transplant or delivering critical medications to rural areas. The ability to bypass traffic and reach remote locations quickly could make a life-saving difference. And with advancements in autonomous technology, these vehicles could operate around the clock, ensuring that essential goods are delivered faster and more reliably than ever before. Then there's tourism. Both jetpacks and flying cars have the potential to create entirely new experiences for travelers. Imagine soaring over a tropical island on a jetpack, feeling the rush of wind as you take in breathtaking views from above. Or hopping into a flying car for a scenic tour of a city's skyline, bypassing crowded streets and enjoying a bird's-eye perspective. These technologies could open up new possibilities for adventure tourism, offering experiences that were once the stuff of dreams. But it's not just about thrill-seeking. Flying cars could also make travel more efficient. In cities with heavy traffic, they could serve as air taxis, whisking tourists from the airport to their hotels in minutes. This could be especially transformative in places like Venice or Bangkok, where congestion is a major challenge. By offering a faster, more enjoyable way to get around, flying cars could enhance the overall travel experience, making them a valuable asset for the tourism industry. So, where will these technologies thrive? The answer is everywhere. From saving lives in emergencies to revolutionizing how we shop and travel, jetpacks and flying cars have the potential to impact nearly every aspect of our lives. But their success will depend on how we choose to integrate them into existing systems and industries. The possibilities are endless, and as we'll see next, the journey to making these visions a reality is already underway. As we wrap up this journey through the skies, it's clear that jetpacks and flying cars aren't just competing technologies, they're two sides of the same coin, each offering a unique vision for the future of transportation. Jetpacks, with their sleek design and thrilling sense of freedom, promise a world where personal mobility takes on a whole new meaning. Imagine bypassing traffic with a quick burst of speed or exploring the world from a perspective few have ever experienced. It's a future that feels almost cinematic, where the sky becomes your playground. On the other hand, flying cars bring a different kind of promise, one of practicality and scale. They're not just about individual freedom, they're about solving real-world problems like traffic congestion and urban sprawl. Picture a city where the skies are filled with quiet, efficient vehicles, reducing the strain on roads and cutting down commute times. It's a vision that's less about the thrill of flight and more about creating a smarter, more connected world. But here's the thing, the future isn't a zero-sum game. It's not about choosing between jetpacks and flying cars, it's about finding the right balance. Both technologies have their place, and their success will depend on how well they address the challenges ahead. Safety, regulation, and accessibility will all play a role in shaping which one takes off first, or whether they'll coexist in a shared airspace. The truth is, we're standing at the edge of a new era, where the way we move through the world is about to change in ways we can barely imagine. So, what's next? The answer lies in innovation, collaboration, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. Whether you're Team Jetpack or Team Flying Car, one thing is certain: the future of transportation is closer than we think. And as these technologies continue to evolve, they'll open up possibilities we haven't even dreamed of yet. The skies are no longer the limit, they're the starting point. Now it's your turn. Which side are you on? Do you see yourself strapping on a jetpack and soaring through the clouds? Or are you more excited about the idea of hopping into a flying car for your daily commute? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're as fascinated by the future as we are, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the technologies shaping tomorrow. The future is coming fast, and we can't wait to explore it with you. Until next time, keep looking up because the sky's the limit.